a disclaimer that I am pretty much a Marvel noob, I guess. Like I'm very much a casual enjoyer of the MCU, so just a fair warning, because I was gonna say that there may or may not be some wrong information in this video, but I think for sure I can say that there probably most likely will be some wrong information in this video. But I don't know, just a very casual enjoyer here, and I wanted to talk about recently going to see Captain America: Brave New World in the theaters. So a group of friends and I went to go see it. We did not see it opening weekend, but we saw it the weekend after, and I thought I would just kind of share my thoughts as a very casual enjoyer of the MCU. And then after all this, I will try to put the film in my MCU ranking, which I have right over here. Ta-da! My MCU ranking. So, anywho, okay. And like, I think, as you can probably expect, there probably will be some spoilers here, so just a fair warning. I don't even know how to I don't know how to be a proper movie reviewer. Like, I can just kind of like yap about what I thought and whatnot. Captain America: Brave New World. So, I think this movie was fine. I think it was fine. Like at the top here, I will say I would give it like a 6 out of 10. Like, that was my initial gut feeling, was just like a 6 out of 10. I might have to go see it again. I mean, I'm not gonna go in the theater to see it again. I think it's one of those movies where it's like, it's not worth going to the theater again to see it, but definitely I think once it comes out on Disney Plus, I'll give it a rewatch maybe. But because like at first I was kind of leaning somewhere between a 7 and a 6 out of 10, and I don't know. I think it's fine. I got very worried, so because first off, I've been a little bit out of like Marvel's. I've been out Marveled for a little while here, and I feel like a lot of it was just due to like the Disney Plus series, and like, you know, there was so much Marvel stuff to watch, and I personally feel like Marvel stories work better as films rather than series, just because, I don't know, I just think the storylines, it's not, a lot of the times these storylines I think work better just like tied in a neat little package of a film rather than trying to be drawn out for a whole series. That's just me. It's also the thing too where it's like, once you have like a series of like whatever, a whole series of stuff, it becomes way harder to like catch up on everything, which is kind of where I am right now. I need to catch up on so much stuff. Like I still have to watch like Loki. I low-key have to watch Loki. And Loki season 2. I have the recent Agatha All Along. Like, I have a bunch of stuff that I need. I basically didn't watch the last series that I watched on Disney Plus was, I think, WandaVision. No, it was Falcon and the Soldier, or Winter Soldier, or just Soldier. And even then, that felt like it was so long ago. It may just be that like I have the memory of a potato, but I forgot everything, most of everything from that series. But anywho, so like that's kind of where I stand. Like I'm very much behind. Like after Endgame, I kind of fell off, and it's been, I come back to Marvel every so often just for like the big exciting things. Like, so post Endgame, I saw, I forget what the order is. I I have a note with all of the things on it. But like, so like post Endgame, I was interested to see what they would do. So like, we had, according to my list, which may or may not be wrong, after Endgame, there was Spider-Man Far From Home, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then Loki, then Black Widow, etc., etc. The only things that I had seen was Spider-Man Far From Home, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then I like took a break, I guess, and then I came back for Spider-Man No Way Home, because of course I had to watch that. Took another break, came back for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because of course I'm gonna watch that. And then, yeah. Since then I haven't watched anything, and then this was the most recent thing that I watched. So like I after Endgame, I had a hard time still really caring. I think very early after Endgame, I was like interested to see what they would do, but like after a while, I just didn't really care as much, except for like the big things. So like, yeah, Spider-Man or Guardians. And honestly, like, so I guess we can actually kind of, well, also, wait, no, well, I'll stop. Let's talk about the actual movie. That's kind of like my biggest downfall with this, which I guess might just be like a me problem. I don't know if this is like the movie's fault or anything, but like, I mean, I feel like this movie kind of just, the biggest problem, at least that I had with it, was that none of the characters really felt engaging at all, or like felt very interesting. Like a lot of the characters in this movie just kind of felt superfluous. Am I saying that word? I don't know words. I don't know. It felt like a lot of like it felt like the B team, and like I get like, you know, probably people who care about the Marvel comics are more excited about stuff like this, which I totally understand. Again, I don't know if that's, I don't necessarily think that's a problem with the movie. It might just be a me thing where it's like, I don't read the Marvel comics or anything. I just kind of watch the films. So I imagine a lot of the characters in like these recent Marvel movies, you know, it's a lot of fan service stuff for the fans that like the comics, which is totally cool and like totally fair. For me as a casual, like, I don't know, I didn't really, a lot of the new characters, or like a lot of the characters that they, like the new ones or the ones that they bring back, I don't really care for. Like, it reminds me of something like, ooh, I'm trying to debate if this is spoilers or not. If anybody has played The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, kind of like Abby's character, and I won't say too much about that because I know the HBO series is coming out, but like in The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, Abby's character was very much just like a background character that was suddenly in the spotlight. That's what I kind of felt like with a lot of like this, where it's like, oh, you know, so Harrison Ford's character is like the guy who made the guy who made the Accords or whatever. Like, I don't know, a lot of like, and maybe again, this just might be a me problem where I don't know, I never really, it might just be that I'm too dumb, but like the actual politics of Avengers I never really cared about. I just like the characters themselves, and like so like when it's like, okay, or like, you know, this is the, because so like a lot of what happens in Captain America Brave New World is sort of a follow-up to the Incredible Hulk from, let me see, according to my notes, the Incredible Hulk from 2008. So like a lot of the characters just kind of come back from that, and like there's a lot of like story beats where it's like, oh, this happened in the Incredible Hulk and then now it's coming back again. Mainly with like the Red Hulk stuff, I guess. and also the guy who I'm blanking on the name, the like baddie in this movie, Stearns, Tim Blake Nelson, I believe has not appeared in anything Marvel since Incredible Hulk in 2008. So it's like it's like a lot of these characters like they bring back, but it's like it's not really characters who have gotten a lot of that we know a lot about or have seen much of. Like I'm trying to think of like a character that they could have brought back where it's like it would be like, oh, that's exciting that they brought them back. Like I don't know if they brought back like Pepper Potts, although it's like, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow is kind of Monka right now, but you know, just like, I don't know, random characters like that I think would be fun to see again. But like when it's like, you know, the guy that got a little bit of screen time in The Incredible Hulk is back after 17 years, like it's like oh cool. You know, yeah, I don't know. So like that was my main thing coming out of it, was like just there were a lot of characters that just kind of felt like nothing sauce to me. I mean, like obviously it's Harrison Ford. When I first heard that Harrison Ford was gonna be in the MCU, it was super exciting. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of the stuff was just like, that was my main thing. Just I didn't really feel like I cared about any of the characters too much. Even freaking Anthony Mackie's character, Sam Wilson. I think maybe it might take some time to grow on me. I think it's weird because, and like I was talking about this with my friends, and like my friends made a good point about this, but about how Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the series, felt like it was a lot of like, oh, you know, Sam trying to take on the responsibility of Captain America and feeling like he's not worthy of being the new Captain America. And then, but the sort of the resolution of that series is that he just he's like, oh, I can be the new Captain America. Like he overcomes the fear of not being as good as god dang Chris Evans' character. God dang it, who of Chris Evans, which I mean, I don't think any of us can be as good as Chris Evans. But then in this movie, it feels like he just kind of like degresses in that, like he once again questions whether or not he has what it takes to be the Captain America. And it's like, we had a whole series about this, like I mean, I guess maybe like the thing is, like, you know, I think that was gonna be a problem no matter what with doing Marvel series, was that like people who don't have Disney Plus, they aren't gonna understand, they're not gonna have the knowledge going into this about all that stuff. So like, I don't know, it's like a weird like balancing act that they have to do. So my biggest thing going into this movie was like, because when the like press reviews first came out, like I looked on Twitter, like following the hashtag or whatever, like when the first like press screenings happened, a lot of like the Twitter fans and whatnot, they went onto Twitter and talked about how like, oh, this is a really good Marvel movie, like, you know, like despite all of the reshoots and stuff, which apparently there were reshoots. I'm very much a casual follower or enjoyer, so like I didn't know too much about the reshoots, but like, yeah, despite the reshoots, and it feels a little clunky, but I think I remember there was a tweet, and I don't know who it was from, but someone claimed that like after the press screenings, someone wrote that this is the best Marvel movie that we've seen since 2019. And I think that after actually having seen it, that's a crazy thing to say. That's wild. But so like it got me excited. So like when I first saw that, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. Like I was like, very excited. And then, you know. And then the actual critic reviews started coming out, and I didn't realize apparently the way, and I don't know if if this is still how it works, but like with Rotten Tomatoes, it's as far as like the critic score or whatever, they base the critic score off of like, I think it's like if it's a 6 out of 10 or lower, then it's like a thumbs down. Like they do like a thumbs up, thumbs down, or like, yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. So like anything 6 or below is like a thumbs down. Like, and that's how they base the sort of like critic score, the overall critic score, like the percentage. So I don't know if that's what was going on here or something, but it was very surprising to me that after all the press screenings that I read about and stuff, that the critic score came out and it was like crazy. It was crazy bad. It was like 20-30%, and it was like the most wild, like I mean, I feel like the last thing that I cared about where it's like something like this happened was like the Mario movie. In fact, I think maybe if I had to guess, the Mario movie would still probably be like this, where the critic score is so much different than the audience score. So Super Mario Brothers movie, yeah, it has a 59% critics score and then 95% audience score. So like there's a huge difference. So like this is another one where there was a huge difference between audience score and critic score. And so that had me worried, but also kind of curious. Like I was just curious to see which side I would lean towards. And yeah, so I don't know. Overall, I think it's a solid, maybe not even solid, but like it is a 6 out of 10. Just 6 out of 10 period, I think, from me. I think I think a lot of the story beats and like a lot of the like pacing, there was a lot of pacing issues, I think, was a big thing that I noticed. It very much felt kind of cobbled together, because like, you know, for the first, even like the first like 5-10 minutes, we're seeing like, it's, I honestly kind of forget. It's like a bunch of like Harrison Ford stuff, and then all of a sudden, you know, crash cut to like all of a sudden Anthony Mackie's here, and like it's actually, yeah, I think the first 10 minutes or whatever, it starts out and you're like seeing a whole bunch of scenes of like Harrison Ford as the freaking guy who unfortunately the actor passed away, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, 10 years later or something. Like it just feels like it's like jumping all over the place, for jumping between storylines, and like, I don't know, it felt just, yeah, very weirdly paced. And then also, oh, you know what was funny too? Like, so like going back to like, apparently there were reshoots for this film. There's a scene that that I like watching the movie. I remember sitting there thinking that this felt like weird. Like I didn't know if I was like crazy, if I was just being too nitpicky or whatever. But then I watched Kind of Funny's MCU in review for this film, and like they also mentioned it, and then I felt totally like validated. But there's a scene, it's the final, well, I guess this is spoilers, but like it's like one of the final scenes, you know, where Sam Wilson is fighting Red Hulk, and you know, after all the fighting that happens, he just walks up to the Red Hulk and then starts talking to him, and it cuts between a shot of like, it's kind of an overhead shot of Anthony Mackie like talking directly to the camera, kind of, but like every time it goes to his shot, it's this, the lighting is way off. Like it looks like, how would I describe it? It looks like it was shot in a garage compared to the other shots that happen, like with all the cherry blossoms and whatever. And like I remember sitting there in the theater and thinking like, am I crazy? Like I was worried like maybe it was something wrong with the projector or something. Like how come the lighting on this one shot of Anthony Mackie is so much different than everything else in the scene? And then yeah, I mean apparently, well, I mean I heard from the kind of funny review of this movie that yeah, it wasn't just me. So that was weird. What else? I mean, I think there's a lot of like other specific things that I'm sure Marvel heads will probably know a lot more about than me. Just as a very casual person, again, I thought the characters were kind of... None of the characters stuck out to me as very interesting or like... very... like I cared about them. I feel like this could have been a really good opportunity to do like kind of like a Thor Ragnarok thing where it's like, you know, it's a Thor movie, but then you also get, you know, like Hulk in it or something. I feel like this could have been like a cool, like kind of a co-op type of like main character film. And like, you know, I mean, spoilers again, but Bucky's in it for like 5 minutes or maybe less. Bucky's in it for like one short scene and then he's just gone. Like he's there and then he's gone for like the rest of the movie. And it's the craziest thing. It's like they could only afford Sebastian Stan for like a short 5-minute scene. But yeah, I think there's other like, I don't know, just like random small things that I felt that I kind of like was thinking about. Well, first off, funny story. I was sitting there in the movie, I forgot how long Marvel movies are, and like this movie is like 2 hours long about, and I wasn't prepared because then I had to go to the potty in the middle, which is crazy because I never ever go to the potty in the middle of a movie. Like that is like my biggest like no. Like no matter how badly I have to go to the bathroom, I will just sit there and wait for the movie to be done. This was the first time where it's like I couldn't wait. I had to go out. I had to leave the theater leave the room in the middle of the movie, and I think it was right around the airship, the air battle or whatever, where it looks like Harrison Ford is about to turn into Red Hulk, but then he doesn't on the boat. And then I don't know, I went to the bathroom next when I came back, it was the Red Hulk battle. Like, so I was really embarrassed because I never ever go to the potty in the middle of a movie. I think that's the most embarrassed I've ever been because I'm usually so good about that. Anyway, there was that. What else? Oh, freaking what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito. He was in this movie that I didn't even know, but that was crazy. I don't know. I like when, well, like, cause like for me, I think, what is he from? He's from, oh god, this might be really cringe that I don't know this. He's from Breaking Bad, ? I know him from Far Cry 6 out of all things. But I liked his I liked his like inclusion. I thought that was fun. Always does a good job at being like a creepy bad guy. What else? Oh, I thought it was crazy that so like in the scene whenever they go to the White House, when they first go to the White House and then you know, all of like the super soldiers end up shooting at the president in the White House. I thought it was crazy that it took so long even for Sam Wilson to figure out like, oh, they must have been under some kind of mind control. Like it was just like, what happened? What happened back there? What happened to you? But it's like, you know, his like his buddy Bucky who we know was also under like mind control. Like I thought that would have been like their first like sort of instinct, was that like, oh, we've seen this before, you know, when some kind of trigger happens and then they just kind of like lose control. I was just like, I thought it was funny how long it took them to sort of come to that conclusion, and for anybody to even believe Sam Wilson. I thought it was crazy. And I don't know what else. Oh, the new Falcon I thought was kind of, I feel like maybe he still has to grow on me. It felt weird seeing like Anthony Mackie talking to like a young kid. It was always kind of funny. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really need to, I don't know, like, yeah, once again, like, I would just say a 6 out of 10. Oh, yeah, one thing, so, like, the thing that I was curious about is that, like, I feel like maybe, especially because of, there are so many niche references in this movie, like, so many niche characters, and, like, so I feel like I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? My inference, or, like, my prediction is that, like, maybe, you know, because the critics maybe saw this as like a casual, so like, you know, the critics were like casual, like myself, I guess, casual sort of like Marvel movie viewers, whereas maybe the audience score is so high because they're more like of the Marvel, like the comic fans, like who understand the really niche references and actually get it. Maybe that's why there's such a big gap in the critics versus audience score. I don't know. Also, wait, here, I can show this on screen. So here's the current, as of this recording, here's the current 49% versus 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, it was, and I don't know if this is just because I had to go to the potty so bad in the middle of it, but it was one of the, I feel like few, maybe not few, but one of the Marvel films where I was actually like looking at my watch to see how long we've been sitting here for. Again, that may just have been just because like I had to go to the potty so bad. But like, yeah, I was, it felt pretty long. Yeah, and I also, I don't know, I feel like it's another one of these Marvel films where it's like, it doesn't have the sort of spectacle that I think we're used to seeing like a lot of the times. None of the battles really feel as crazy as I feel like we've seen in other Marvel films or anything like that. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. At least from me, just a 6 out of 10, I think. Yeah, I also, oh wait, sorry. Also, yeah, because I think a big thing about this film comes from the fact that, and I think this is an interesting debate to have with Marvel properties and like, you know, the films in the series, is like the sort of serialization of Marvel, of Marvel like stuff. So like, you know, because I feel like especially in the like Infinity Saga or whatever, there was so much serialization where it's like you need to see this move, like you need to see all of the movies in order to understand like whatever, like Avengers or like Endgame or like Infinity War or whatever. Like you need to know all of the movies because like they're all like really interconnected with each other. And I think that has pros and cons where it's like, I love Endgame, but like, I mean, here, wait, let me see. Like even like on my list, on my current list, my current rankings, Endgame is like my number one. The only thing about Endgame, at least in my opinion, is that like it relies on you having seen pretty much every other MCU film up to that point, for it to really have the payoff that like, because it's like, you know, with Endgame, I think the coolest thing about it is like, I remember sitting in the theater the first time I watched it and then like learning that this is going to be a time travel movie, you know, like they're going to go back to all of the major scenes throughout the whole MCU. You know, I thought that was the coolest thing, but it also relies on you having seen those prior scenes. So like with Captain America Brave New World, I think it is definitely one of the non-serialized Marvel movies. I guess from the point, well, I mean, like, because they have the niche references and the niche characters from, you know, all the way back to Incredible Hulk. Even the freaking, god dang it, what's the thing called? The new vibranium. That's just the better version of vibranium. It's from Eternals, right? I think the like whole island made of it, that's from Eternals, question mark. But like, yeah, like, so like the Incredible Hulk and like all of the references. But I think Captain America Brave New World, I think it does a pretty good job in that, like, they sort of explain to you these niche references, or like if they don't explain it to you, then you can just view it as something brand new. Like I feel like if I hadn't seen like a recap video on YouTube about, you know, who all of the characters in this movie, I would have just thought that, you know, Harrison Ford's character is a brand new character or something, or like, you know, all of the characters that they brought back for this, like Stearns, like I would have thought he's just a new character because I totally like forgot about him. Like, so I feel like it did a pretty good job at not being serialized, which I think makes it better as like a standalone. Like, if you want to just watch this movie without having seen anything else, I think it would actually be okay. For the most part. So yeah, I don't know, serialization versus non-serialization. I don't know. I think this one did a pretty good job at not being so serialized. Which I think, yeah, makes a better standalone film, but then I don't know, it's not as exciting, I think, for, you know, people who actually watch the MCU. In any case, now speaking of the rankings, now we can actually get to the rankings of this movie. So this is also the first time that I'm showing this. So just to kind of go over where we're at now, and I wrote this literally like today. And I had a ranking a long time ago when I first watched, because I didn't get into like the MCU until 2019, right before Endgame. I figured since Endgame is coming out, I would like actually try to get into Marvel stuff. So I started from Iron Man all the way up to Captain Marvel. And that was like in like the summer of 2019. And then after that, I did a whole ranking, but then I don't know what happened to it. So I just kind of did this off the top of my head. So apologies, because there probably will be some like discrepancies. But just to give a general idea, and here I'll scroll through it if you want to like pause and then look at everything. But just a general idea of what my take on the MCU. And again, this is only the stuff that I've seen. There's a big period, there's a big gap in time, almost like the blip, almost like the snap, where I fell off of Marvel for a while. But so Endgame is probably my number one. Civil War is like a close second. And I recently rewatched Civil War. Also, yeah, that's another thing. I probably, because a lot of my thoughts on these films are from my original watch of them in 2019, so like 6 years ago. Maybe I might be due for a rewatch of a lot of these. But so yeah, Endgame, Civil War, Spider-Man, No Way Home, so good. Infinity War, WandaVision is in my top 5. I feel like I also need to rewatch WandaVision, but just like looking at I was just like browsing Disney Plus, and I looked through all of the episodes, like the sort of thumbnails, and I thought WandaVision was so cool. Like how like every episode of WandaVision is like its own little like time period piece. So cool. Guardians Volume 2. I think Guardians Volume 2 was like the hardest I laughed in a while when I first watched it. Just for the scene when it's Groot and Rocket, and then their face is getting all distorted. I thought that was the funniest thing. Anyway, going down a little bit, and then at the bottom, I put Falcon and the Winter Soldier here just because I didn't remember a lot of it. It wasn't too memorable for me, and at that point I felt like they were just kind of like, I don't know, I just didn't really care for it. I didn't really care about the characters. I don't know, maybe this needs a rewatch as well. But like, we have like Age of Ultron down here, Thor 2, and the Incredible Hulk. So Captain America Brave New World is gonna go it's gonna go somewhere over here. Lower on the list. Age of Ultron, I feel like I might put it here, between Age of Ultron and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. 26 on my list. And I don't know, looking back, maybe, again, I think I have to rewatch these, but even the worst, like even the Thor Dark World and Incredible Hulk, well, I don't know, maybe I need to rewatch them, but I don't think any of these are really terrible or anything. Like, even like, again, Brave New World, I think a 6 out of 10. Like, it's watchable, and in some parts it's enjoyable, but it's not my favorite. It's far from my favorite, I think. So like, I don't think any of these are necessarily bad. It's just like on a list of rankings, it's just at the bottom. But yeah, I think that's about it. I need to watch a bunch of the ones that I missed. Like, yeah, definitely a lot of stuff that I need to watch. But that's pretty much everything I thought about Captain America Brave New World, I guess. Y'all should let me know in the comments what you thought.